Hello, welcome to another episode of Millennial Minute. I'm your host, Julia Sun. Public security versus personal privacy. Today's hot button topic: should the government and law enforcement have access to our private encrypted messages during investigations in the name of public good? You've already heard from our guest, Ben Pring. He's the co-author of Monster, a tough love letter on taming the machines that rule our jobs, lives, and future. And joining him is political strategist Ajay Bruno. Welcome, gentlemen. Let's say if someone committed a crime against you personally, wouldn't you want law enforcement to have every tool possible to find the information they need? AJ.
Well, it's a difficult question. I mean, the short answer is yes, but the long answer is what exactly is the crime? What are the circumstances? What's the evidence? So I think we need to stick to a certain legal standard here. But at the same time, if we're talking about having unfettered access to everything, I think that should be reserved for the most extreme crimes. Terrorism and matters of national security like that is really the only thing that I think we should kind of throw the playbook out for. Other than that, we risk becoming a police state. So I take a middle position on this. I think it's important to be careful. On one hand, I agree with someone like Snowden, who exposed this illegal spying of the American people. But on the other hand, we also need to have some way for the authorities to keep the country safe and stop some of the worst potential crimes from happening. So it's a very difficult balance, and I kind of fall somewhere in the gray area there.
Yeah, that's why we are talking about this on the show. Ben, where is the line for you if you, God forbids, to be the victim of some crime?
Yeah, I think the line is that law authorities do have access, pretty broad access, pretty broad powers to have access to most, if not everything, on a case-by-case basis, where they go through the proper channels, the proper approaches to do that through the law courts. What I object to, and I think what a lot of people object to, is this notion, as AJ said, that we're living in this dragnet society where everything is being recorded, everything is being kept for some possibility down the road. I think that is what Snowden brought into the public domain, made us aware of. And I think the gray line is really exactly on that point, that we don't want to live, certainly I don't, I'm sure not many people do, want to live in a police state. But at the same time, we need to recognize clearly that the law authorities do need to have legitimate access to a lot of information a lot of the time.
What I see all the time is, oh, I don't want anybody to be in my business, but oh, if I give you my data, I get 15% off on my next order. People are not that careful. What do you think is causing this culture or social unawareness to our privacy, AJ?
Well, I think it's the way our society has gone these days, and frankly, it's a little bit disturbing. With each generation, I feel like the collective intelligence of our society is going downhill. People just don't care anymore. That's why we have who knows how many hundreds of millions of people using a Chinese spy app. Do they care what the information is being used for, where it's going? Not really. And I think it's kind of disturbing people aren't aware of that. At the same time, there's people who are paranoid about having something like an Alexa device or something like that in their room. I'm sure they're listening. I'm sure they're collecting data. There's nothing interesting going on, so that's on them. But I don't think these companies should be having all this information on us. But I think we can at least agree that we shouldn't have foreign countries, potential adversaries, collecting our data and using that against the country. So that's something we should be on board with. But look, it's a very disturbing trend we're going on here domestically. And I don't like the idea, obviously, of everything we search for, everything we do being collected. And there's got to be some sort of standard laid down that I don't think we have right now.
Yeah, Ben, what do you think we can do to just do something about this dichotomy? Oh, well, I really care, but no, I don't.
No, I think the first step to creating the new rules of the road that we so desperately need is raising awareness of the issue. I mean, to your point, not many people in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years have really fully understood what is going on. And so clearly in that absence of really any real sense of what's going on, people have gravitated to the free offer. People have gravitated to what they get out of this rather than understanding what they're giving and the balance in that kind of give to get ratio. So what we're trying to do, and we write about extensively in our book Monster, is to craft these rules of the road. One of them is simply that we need to begin to put in place a way of valuing the data that we're giving in these transactions. Because at the moment, that's totally unknown by us as individuals. Some people will know there's a very well important book written by a Harvard Business School professor recently called Surveillance Capitalism. The author is Shoshana Zuboff. Everybody should read that book because it explains what's going on, and it explains what we're giving up, the value of what we're giving up. So really people need to wake up and realize that this is a momentous period in time when the new sort of rules of the road are being set, and we've got to be in the driver's seat for those.
Okay, and last thing before I let both of you go is, AJ, you said, okay, during a terrorist investigation, it is justified. Which step? How much evidence is needed? Can you just point to, okay, I have this, and therefore I can get that?
Well, I don't know all the criteria they use in that situation, but if we could have had more, more government power before 9/11 to be able to track these people and know what they're up to, know what they're planning, that we didn't have until afterwards, and prevented that, I think whatever sort of trade-off and supposed civil liberty would be worth it. We can't violate the rights of American citizens without just cause, but at the same time, I don't think enough was done, obviously, and we really need to give the people who investigate these things the power to do that. As to where you would draw the line or what criteria you would use, I'm not a counterterrorism expert, but certainly we need to do whatever we're doing to keep that from not happening again in the future. And we can't kind of let our guard down, even if it's been, this many years. So,
Ben, what are your criteria?
My criteria is that we should be creating rules where that type of law authority request for information is the exception. And what unfortunately is the case now is it's completely the norm. Yeah. Because we've set up this dragnet-based model where everything is being recorded, we've inverted that standard. And I think we need to somehow, in some way, and it's going to be very difficult, frankly, to get back to that model where, yes, in the case of a very, very real threat, in the case where we have real evidence that we can take to a FISA court or some other court for that type of authorization, yes, it's justifiable. But that shouldn't be so we're living in a police state, which is the case right now, frankly.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's fear. Once an exception becomes public, it's the rule. All right, yeah. Thank you both for being here. I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you for watching Millennial Minute. I'm Julia Sun. I'll see you back here next time.